What's up, everybody? Dr. Vince Leone here. Welcome to the show. Today's training is Mastering Objections. What to do when they say this, that, or the other. This is really geared towards doctors that are doing cash-based care plans. 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, 8,000 for decompression, neuropathy, stem cell, functional medicine, those types of conditions and care plans. And so what I can tell you, after, doing this for a long time and being in the room with hundreds and hundreds of these patients, is you're going to get hit with objections. They're going to not really want to just give up their hard-earned money. And so there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid in terms of associating value with what you are offering them. But at the end of the day, after we present our case and recommendations of care and go through everything, they're going to typically present some objections. It doesn't mean that they don't want to move forward. It does mean that they have some concerns, and so they need to be addressed, right? So let's go ahead, jump right into the material. First of all, what the heck is an objection? Well, if we look at a dictionary, a reason or argument offered in disagreement, opposition, blah, 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 the act of objecting, opposing, disputing, a feeling of disapproval, dislike, or disagreement. Very, very true. Now, let's look at what a patient objection is defined as. It's a statement or a question raised by the patient prospect, which can indicate an unwillingness to move forward with care, right? So objections include price, of course, your service, the timing, either with your service or with their life in general, your company, you, the competition, the economy, confusion, lack of information. It can fall into any of those categories. So if you are not a master at overcoming objections and closing in the room, there are consequences, right? So it can inhibit confidence. It can inhibit momentum. It can reduce your new patients. It can reduce your income. It can reduce referrals, and it can reduce your lifetime value. See, a lot of docs, they don't think of the ramifications of losing just one patient a month. So, what that is lost potential value, right? So think about if your average case value is $5,000 and you lose one qualified patient a month. Well, that's $60,000, okay? I mean, just off the top. Now, that doesn't include any of the other stuff that they may buy from you. It doesn't include any of the referrals, and it doesn't include any additional care, okay? So we have to look at lifetime value, right? To see how important this is to really get a grasp on this, because if you're sitting in front of highly qualified patients and they need the care and they want the care, then you need to close them, all right? So, so the steps to mastering objections. Well, as with anything, first we have to commit to being a master, right? Just like when we went to chiropractic college, we committed to becoming a master at chiropractic and finishing school and getting out and building a practice. It takes commitment. So we got to commit to this aspect of it. Obviously, they didn't teach us this at school. They don't typically teach this at practice management courses or whatever because, well, I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate. But the point being is, doesn't mean we don't need to still be very, very good at it. We need to be good at persuasion in the room. And by the way, from an ethical standpoint, if you believe in your service 100%, if you know without a shadow of a doubt that they are going to be better off with it than without it, and they are a good candidate, in other words, that they qualify for care, you feel like they're going to have an excellent clinical outcome, and they can find the money. It's really, really important that you get them under care, right? So, because I know that, I'm a full-time consultant at this point, but when I was practicing, which was really just up until the beginning of this year, I knew that their life would be 10 times better off with my care than without it. So their $6,000 to move forward with care, mean, to me, that's a drop in the bucket of life, right? Their quality of life is going to change. I mean, they're going to be able to walk with their spouse. They're going to be go on vacation without complaining. They're going to be able to do the things that they love, spend time with the ones that they love, play with their grandkids or play with their kids. That's not worth $6,000. Yes, it is. It's worth $60,000. It's worth, it has no price tag. So that's almost number one. First of all, you got to really wrap your head around the change that you're making in these people's lives. So, and most doctors are already there. So we got to take responsibility for every objection, okay? And we'll go into that in more detail. We got to define what an objection is and is not. This is very important. Identify where objections are going to take place. Prepare until you can predict each objection, master until you can handle each, and then you got to practice, right? Now, by the way, guys, what you'll notice here is this is not your typical BS webinar where they're going to give you the 3 secrets and then sell you at the end. Now, I am going to offer you something for sale at the end, but this is true training, okay? So, buckle up. We're going to have, this will be a good hour of training. Okay, so types of objections, right? And by the way, how did I come up with all this? Well, 5 years in a 7-figure practice with knee to knee with hundreds and hundreds of patients asking for $6,000 for care plans, but also training and studying guys like Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, who's the Wolf of Wall Street, Tony Robbins, Robert Cialdini, Dan Kennedy. All these guys are masters of sales and persuasion, right? So, I knew, hey, if I was going to be successful, really in life, right? Like sales is just really persuading someone that what you have to offer has enough value for them to exchange value, typically money, for that product or service, right? And so, anyways, side note, types of objections. Internal, you say these to yourself, okay? External, the patient says these to you. Valid, this is the real objection. Invalid, not the real objection, right? Even though they may say it is. Spoken, this is what they're going to tell you, and unspoken, what they're not telling you, okay? So let's talk about 4 secrets about objections. Number 1, you are the creator of every objection, and you must take full responsibility for the patient's objection, okay? And we'll dive into this. 2, the most dangerous objection is the unspoken one. Number 3, most objections are complaints that should not be handled, but used as a reason to close. And number 4, objections are never a reason not to close or to stop moving forward with the report of findings, okay? So let's go back for these in just a second. First, you're the creator of every objection. So there's this concept called the mirror, okay? I didn't make it up. One of my mentors, I learned it from him, who I'm sure learned from somebody else. All this, guys, all this stuff it's all out there, right? It's just a matter, are you going to dig enough? Are you going to do the research? Are you going to study? But the point being is there's concept of the mirror. And what that says is we do not have business problems. We have personal problems that are then manifested in business, okay? So in other words, if you're getting a lot of objections from patients saying, I can't afford it, do you have payment plans? I don't have the money, etc. Most likely, you are having that same situation in your personal life. In other words, when you go to buy a car or to buy a mattress or whatever, you're looking for the cheapest deal. You're looking, hey, can I finance this? Trying to chisel the guy down on price, all this type of stuff. What you do in your life is manifested right back at you. That's why it's called the mirror, right? So if the patient says, I just don't have time for this in my life right now. I work, I have kids, I have whatever the excuse is. That's probably happening in your own life. In other words, you feel overwhelmed with your schedule. It's not structured so that you have time for the important things in your life, blah, blah, blah. That's coming back to you. And so and we'll get into an exercise later on, but that's super, super important. The concept of the mirror. So we don't have business problems. We have personal problems manifested in our business because we are our business. Okay. Our practice is us. It's a direct manifestation of us. Now, the most dangerous objection is the unspoken one, right? What does that mean? It means they're a lot of times not telling you what the real issue is. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, they may say, wow, that's pretty expensive. You know, I don't know if we can afford that, or I got to talk to my spouse, or gosh, we're going on this vacation, blah, blah, blah. The real objection, and the only way you can get to it is digging, probing, and we'll go into this in a little bit, but you know, their real objection, it may not be money, it may not be timing, they may really want to do it, but maybe they have a best friend that's like an orthopedic surgeon, and he golfs with them once a week. And so he's going to have to explain to him why he can't go golfing with him because he's, you know, in your office 4 days a week. And he's going to say, wait, you spent $5,000 with a chiropractor to do what? Fix your feet? Are you kidding me? That may be the real objection. And or whatever, maybe he has to talk to his spouse, and then the real objection is that he doesn't want to try to convince her to spend $5,000 of their money to fix his problem. Okay. So the reason why it's so dangerous is because if you don't address the real objection, he won't buy. Okay, so you have to get to the bottom of that. And again, we'll go into that in a little bit. This is huge. Most objections are complaints, and they should be handled as such. In other words, gosh, that's really expensive. That's a complaint. Wow, $6,000. That's a lot of money to fix my neuropathy. That's a complaint. Okay, he's complaining that the price is high. Well, hey, I'm trying to change your life. That's going to have a monetary value associated with it. So, or I got to talk with my wife. Well, that's not necessarily an objection. That is a complaint. I got to talk with my wife. Do you? What do you think she would say? And the point being is, they should never be a reason to not move on and close the deal. Okay. And this is the biggest one, because even if they're giving you real objections, I just don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Well, let's talk about that. So you're saying that you cannot write a check, even though you get 20% discount. You're saying there's no way you could write a check for $5,200. No way in hell. Okay. Now you said you have a job, right? You're working. Yeah. What if we were able to finance you? Do you feel like there is some room in your budget? Well, actually, first of all, do you even want to do this? Oh, absolutely. Or I don't know. I don't know if this condition is, really bothering me that much. That's the real objection. They are not at a point where it's affecting their life enough. And that's okay. Hey, no problem. If this isn't that important to you, it certainly isn't important to me. I only want to help people that are really, really, intent on fixing their condition. You're not there, and that is okay. But let's not waste any more time. And boom, get out of there. You know what I'm saying? But the point being is, just because they're going to give you objection, real or valid or invalid, it's never a reason to stop. Okay, never a reason to stop moving forward with care or with the report of findings. So I split the report of findings into two, right? You have the front half and the back half. The front half is where you go through the 4 questions, right? What's wrong? Can I help? How long and how much? That's the front half. Once you get the first objection, and you're going to get 2 or 3, like just understand that, 5 to 10%, 10% at the most are going to say, yeah, that sounds great. Write you a check. Let's go. Okay. And everyone dances and gets happy about that and goes home, super pumped. Point being, it's a very small percentage, and you don't ever want to rely on a very small percentage, right? Because your close rate's only going to be about 50%, maybe 60%. So you have 5 to 10% of your 50 to 60%, that's going to be super, super easy. So the bulk of the people that will close, because you should be at least 50% close rate, the bulk of those you're going to have to work for. So go into it with the idea that you're going to get hit with 2 or 3 objections. You're going to have to address them. So if you go into it with that understanding, you're not going to be surprised. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew I was going to get that one, or whatever, you know. And there's only, here's the beauty of it. There's only so many objections that people have for our particular type of care. And so that's why we're going to go over them and address them. And you're going to give you some tools to work with them, okay? But anyways, so never stop when you get an objection. Because listen, I've heard talks literally, oh, yeah, he said it's too expensive, so, you know, we wrapped it up. Or he has to talk to his spouse. Okay, see you later. What? No. You keep moving forward, even if they have to go talk with their spouse. Well, yeah, okay, I totally understand. I would agree. I would talk with my spouse too. I wouldn't want her to be mad at you. But, you know, let's get through some of the basics here. Would this work for your schedule? Or how can we work this, you know, make this work for your schedule? Finance, you know, how are we, you know what I'm saying? Keep going, you know, keep going, like make progress, and then bring in the spouse. Or maybe you're going to get to the end and he's like, wow, you know what? Let's just do it. You don't know unless you probe, unless you get more information, right? And it, again, may not have been the real objection. I got to talk with my spouse. That sounds like a complaint to me. You know, I got to talk to my spouse. You know, it's $5,000. Maybe it's not. You know, maybe he controls the purse strings and he isn't quite sure about you, and that's his out. Okay, he's not going to tell you he doesn't like you, or he doesn't tell you that he can't quite trust you, or whatever the real objection is. That I got to talk with my spouse. She may not have anything to do with it. She may, sure, honey. I mean, if it's your money, I mean, you make. I mean, if he's the breadwinner, then it's his money, right? Or vice versa. If she's the breadwinner, hey, maybe she doesn't have to talk with her husband. But it's a easy out, okay? Because people don't want to tell you the truth, okay? They don't want to tell you, well, you know, your place this is kind of a crap hole. I mean, we're in a strip mall and you want $6,000. Hey, they're not going to tell you that, right? If that's the case. Or, you know, they're thinking in their head, goodness gracious, if I have to look at that front desk person and that, you know, and have her treat me like she did when I first walked in here, every time I come in, I'm coming in 24 visit. No way, I'm going to find somebody else, right? That's the real objection, right? But they're thinking it in their head, they're not telling you, okay? And you won't know until you probe. But again, we'll get to that later. Okay, let's go into steps to determine valid versus invalid. Okay, so 6 steps. First, 1, gotta listen. 2, acknowledge. 3, isolate. 4, validate to determine the real objection. 5, determine the type of the objection, and then close. So step 1, listen. Man, you gotta listen, okay? Stop talking. Man, my dad, he just loves to hear himself talk. And I'm just like, you know, people want to be heard. People are in pain. People are trying to figure out whether they want to spend the next 3 months of their life with you and $6,000. They want to be heard. So stop talking and listen, okay? So, okay, let me write this down. These are responses, right? Okay, please tell me, I want to hear this. Okay, I got it, okay. And what else? Tell me more. Thank you so much for sharing. Hey, tell me everything about what you've experienced with this. Let people talk. They want to be heard. It develops rapport, right? Okay. And they'll start to trust you. Step number 2, acknowledge. You're right. Now, guys, these are what we do to, what is going on here? These are what we're going to do to determine whether it's valid or invalid. So in other words, we're addressing the objections here. Number 2, we're going to acknowledge it. You're right. I agree with you. I can see that. I'm in total agreement. I feel the same way. I get it. So I say, God, that's expensive. You're right. It is. It's not a cheap program. I've invested a ton of time, a ton of effort, a ton of energy, and a ton of money into this program. Not only in the first class equipment, but like, you know, courses for me to learn. I mean, I've been studying this for the last 5 years, you know, so you're right. It is expensive, but it's also effective, highly effective and long lasting and natural. And you're not going to have to have surgery and all that stuff. Or I agree with you, you know, absolutely. You should talk with your spouse. I mean, look, I don't want to cause rifts in your marriage over, over this. But what do you think that she would say? Anyways, so you want to agree with them. You want to always agree with them when they give you an objection. Next, isolate. Say, wow, that's really expensive. Absolutely, I agree. It is expensive. We just talked about. What are your other concerns? Okay, we're trying to isolate. We're trying to figure out, well, what else is bothering? Well, I need to talk to my spouse. Well, no, not much. I mean, it's just really expensive. I don't know if I can afford it. That's the real objection. Well, let's talk about that. What else bothers you? I'm not sure about the timing. Okay, you're not sure about the timing. So the finances don't bother you? No, I'm okay with that. You don't need to check with your spouse, like, you're the decision maker. No, yes, I'm the decision maker. So other than the timing, I mean, is there any other reason that you would not move forward with this? No, I run a company. I own my own company. I got to figure out whether I can fit this into my schedule. Okay, great. Let's figure that out. Anyways, and then you go into figuring it out. Get on their side, okay? Think of it like a tennis court, okay? They're over there and you're over here. There's a net between you guys, and as long as there's a net between you guys, you are adversaries, okay? Get on their side. Work together, right? So get on the same side and then have time or money or whatever the real objection is on the other side. You're going to work together to beat it, okay? So get on their side, because that is really important. You have to work together. They have to see you as you're on their team, okay? Working to solve the problem, and then everything changes, okay? So isolate the objection, validate. The prices, say it's price. That's really expensive. But I totally agree. It is expensive, and I've invested a ton of time, effort, energy to really give you the best care possible. And I agree, it is expensive, but that wouldn't keep you from moving forward, would it? I mean, this is your health. You said, you've told me that you can't sleep at night. It's bothering, it's affecting your work. It's affecting the ability to play with your grandkids. I mean, $5,000, that's not going to stop you from moving forward, right? I mean, it takes cojones to do this, but guys, you're the doctor. We know what happens when they don't get care, how much their life is affected. They may not know that yet. They may not know what life looks like in 5 to 10 years. And I'll tell you what, it sucks, okay? If you have a herniated disc, if you have severe neuropathy, if you have a severe condition that needs to be fixed in 5 to 10 years, life goes downhill. And they are not aware of how bad it can get. We are, because we've seen those patients. So you need to future pace them and say, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm not trying to scare you here, but I've seen what this looks like in 5 to 10 years, and it ain't pretty. And I ain't trying to scare you. I want you to be fully aware of what the ramifications are if you don't go forward with care, okay? Just talk to them. Be honest. If you're coming from a place of integrity, they'll I mean, if you're trying to scare them, they'll know that. If you're coming from a place of integrity that you actually give a damn about them, they'll know that too, okay? So here's another thing, validate. God, that's really expensive. Look, I get it. No, it's not cheap. I've invested a ton of time, effort, and energy in this. But I mean, what's your real objection? I honestly, I have no idea if I can fit this in my schedule, or I have got to get my wife on board with this. It's not the money. Or maybe it is. No, it's the money. I have no idea how I'm going to afford it. Hey, now we know the real objection, or what's your real concern? If you don't want to say objection, what's your real concern? Ask the tough questions to get the right answers, okay? And again, guys, you're like, wow, we have to do all this. I mean, you've decided to play at a higher level. You're not using insurance and doing, well, we'll get you adjusted a couple times a week for a couple of weeks and see what happens. No, that's not the game you're playing anymore. This is the big boys. This is where we're trying to hit, 10 to 20 of these new patients a month. you know? So we're looking at 50 to 100 grand a month. Hey, let's help a lot of people and make a lot of money. Why not? You want to do that? You got to get good at this stuff, okay? Determine the type of objection. Now, this is an internal process, okay? You have to, the wheel has to be turning in your head. You must know why the patient is objecting and about what, okay? And you got to be thinking, okay, is that valid or invalid, okay? And then you just have to start to narrow it down. Okay, it didn't really seem like it was price. It doesn't seem like, I mean, he's retired, so it can't really be time. Maybe he has to, maybe the wife controls the money, and then ask that question. Hey, your wife isn't here. Why not? You know what I'm saying? So in your head, you're going to have to start saying, or at least rolling the dice and say, I think this is the real objection, and I'm going to really address that. And then address it and start asking some questions. And I'm going to give you some questions to go through. And then close or handle, once you address the objection, then you're going to close. Now that's out of the realm here, right? I mean, handling objections and closing are two totally different things. So we're not going to cover that here. Now, let's talk about the biggest mistakes in handling objections. And you see that this is we'll cover that next module. This is all in a training I have that I'll tell you about at the end. Let's get a time check here. 1:27. Good, we're on track. Biggest mistakes in handling objections. The biggest one is treating objections as objections that are actually just complaints. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, they say, God, that's expensive. And I understand. Yeah. Well, look, it was super nice to meet you. And like, what? It was just a complaint. You didn't drill down. You know what I'm saying? And if you let him off the hook, and if he's not super, committed, then he's going to go home and think about it. And 9 times out of 10, when they leave, it's done. Okay. So that's why you got to ask questions. You have to find the real objection, and most are just going to be complaints. Wow, God, that's going to be 9. How many visits? 3 a week for how long? 24 visits. Holy cow, that's a lot of visits. It is. It takes time to heal the body, Mr. Jones. I mean, how long you've had this condition for what, 3 years? And I mean, look, I understand that, the pharmaceutical companies will try to tell you that they can solve your 3-year-old problem with one pill, but it ain't the way the body works. I'm here to tell you the truth. That's not how the body works. It takes time. We are unwinding this condition and healing your body. It takes time. 3 months. I actually think 3 months is a super short period of time to fix this that's been going on for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So, tell them the truth, and don't accept all the objections. In fact, initially, consider the objection a complaint until determined otherwise. Okay, so a complaint is just an expression of discontent, regret, pain, or resentment. Ooh, God, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt writing that check for $6,000. Well, hey, keep this in mind. Just because it hurts doesn't mean they don't want to do it, and doesn't mean they can't do it, right? A lot of doctors are like, oh, I don't want to deal with Medicare patients. They're such a pain in the ass, blah, blah, blah. They don't have money. What? They don't have money. They've been working for 50 years. They got money. They probably got more money than you saved up, and they're just not going to tell you. My mother-in-law has a lot of money. She lives like a pauper. She still goes to taco time, right? How she was raised. Never got out of that lack mindset, So these people can have tons of money, but they'll come across as, I don't got any money. I can't afford that. That's when you really have to start associating more value with your service versus the cost to them. You got to talk about future pacing, how you're going to paint a picture of what life looks like if they move through care and if they don't move through care. Okay. So, but it's a complaint, So, golden rule of objections. Treat all objections as complaints until isolated and validated as legitimate objections. Okay, so we're going to acknowledge the complaint and close. So most of the time, the doctor is handling a complaint that never required more than, look, I understand. I agree with you. And, I felt the same way. But that's not going to stop you from moving forward with care, is it? I mean, this is your health. Get this wrapped up and start your treatment. Have you ever said that to a patient? If they said, wow, that's more than what I was thinking. And by the way, guys, there's a lot of with injections and stem cell, all this type of stuff, people like $5,000, $6,000, they're almost expecting it these days. Okay. So it's really not going to be a lot of sticker shock. And typically if it is, they're not qualified. Right. So, but the next time someone says, you've zeroed on the complaint, right? What else are your concerns? Do you feel like you can fit this in your schedule? Yeah, I do. Do you feel like you need to talk to your spouse? No, I don't need to talk to my spouse. So it's the finances. It is. Well, look, I understand. I agree. It's not a small amount of money. And I feel it the same way. But look, that's not going to stop you from moving forward with care, is it? This is your health. Let's get this wrapped up and start your treatment. Try that. Try it just once. Just once. When one patient says, God, that's expensive. Don't try to figure out how it's going to fit in their budget or whether they're going to take a 20% discount for the full pay or blah, blah, blah. Say this. Say that. I understand. I agree with you. I feel the same way. But that's not going to stop you from moving forward with care, is it? This is your health. You're telling me you can't sleep at night, can't play golf, you can't go on vacation, you're not able to take walks with your spouse, it's affecting your relationship. Let's get this wrapped up and start your treatment. Try it. Just try it. Okay? It works. Okay. Another secret to handling objections. When you handle a mere complaint as a valid objection, you validate it and you make it into something that it's not. That's why you have to ask the questions, right? Because if they say, God, that's expensive, and you don't, well, okay, I understand. It is expensive. What are your other concerns, right? So you want to start. What else is going on? So we're trying to narrow it down, right? Because if they say, wow, I just honestly, I don't know if there's any way in the world I can fit this into my schedule. If you had not asked that question, then you would have started to try to address the finances, and he didn't even really care. Yeah, $6,000. It's not a small amount of money, but that doesn't mean he couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but if you didn't ask the question, find out, wow, it's really his time. He's an executive, or he owns his own company, or whatever. That's the real objection, right? But if you didn't ask the question, what are your other concerns? You wouldn't have given him an opportunity to say that and tell you, and you would have started zeroing in on the finances. Well, how can we make this work for your budget? And he's thinking in his head, budget? I don't need a budget. I'm going to take the 20% discount even if I even do this damn thing, but I don't know how the heck I'm going to fit it in with my work schedule. You know what I'm saying? So he's immediately thinking, what is this guy? He doesn't even really know what's going on with me. Get it? So that's really important. That's why it's so, you got to get to what is the most important, and they will tell you if you probe. Because remember, at this point, you've been with the patient for 20 to 30 minutes, right? You've already had a consultation. You've already had the evaluation. You've essentially demonstrated your expertise and developed rapport and some trust. You can ask the hard questions at this point, and if you don't, and then you start drilling down on something that's not even the main objection, then they're going to be thinking that exact same thing. This guy doesn't even know what he's doing. I don't care about the money. I just don't know if I can fit this in my schedule, Anyways, so first things first. First thing I do when I hear what appears to be an objection is to treat it like a complaint until further validated as a real objection. If it's a legitimate objection, you're going to know soon enough, right? Because when you try to handle it as only a complaint, your prospect will make it clear it's more than that. God, that's expensive. It is, I understand. but that's not going to stop you from moving forward with care, is it? Yeah. I don't know if I can afford. I have no way. There's no way I can write a check for $5,400. I'll tell you that. That's the real objection. You know what I'm saying? They will tell you, but not until you start digging things up. So, anyways, this is what we just said. Okay, the rule of responsibility. Look at the objections you continue to get, and you're gonna. I assure you that you will have some agreement with these objections in your life. Okay, so in other words, this is happening to you because of you. This is the concept of the mirror that we talked about before. So if you're okay, so here's what I want you to do. If you are getting these complaints like on a regular basis, I can't afford it, no way, or it's too much time. For the next week, start writing down every objection you get from your prospects, right? And then see how many of those you use in your own life, okay? And so what you want to do is start writing down all the primary objections that you get with your consultations, okay? And then start looking at your own life and see if it's financial. Are you struggling financially? You know, are you basically acting out the same objection in your own life, okay? Or if it's time, if they're always saying, you know, there's no way I can fit this in my schedule. I'm so busy. My life is crazy. Is that happening in your own life? Okay. The point is, you got to quit asking your patients to do what you won't do. Okay. Super important. So, what happened here? Okay. So here's some things to think about. Do you ever say this to yourself? I need to think about it. You know, I need to check with my spouse. I never make a rash decision. It's not in our budget. I need the best deal. What else is included? What else can you give me? Or I need to wait until, do you ever say stuff like that? So let's talk about what generates a patient's objections. Okay, fear, uncertainty, misinformation, the information they've been given, lack of information, mistakes they've made in the past, upbringing, fear. Gosh, I'm going to spend a lot of money with this doctor. I've never heard of him. I don't even know if he has any Google reviews. Uncertainty. This guy's going to fix my feet. He's a chiropractor. Misinformation, or then that kind of goes in with upbringing, right? My parents have always warned me about chiropractors. It still happens, guys. It's still out there, whether we believe it or not. The stigma is still there. Mistakes in the past. Oh God, I did this before and I got burned. How many times have you had patients come in and say, I tried decompression, or I tried this somewhere else. I don't think it's going to work for me. Happens. So some of the patient's fears: wasting time, making a mistake, being taken advantage of is huge. Looking bad to others. We talked about this, with their friends. They're going to have to. So when we make a decision, first we make it from an emotional standpoint, and then we justify it with logic. Well, from an emotional standpoint, we got to be thinking, the patients are thinking, I'm going to have to justify this to my spouse, to my friends. I'm going to have to tell my friends I'm doing this, and they're going to ask me questions, and I'm going to have to try to, validate why I'm doing this, So they don't want to look bad. No one wants to look bad, Fear of pressure. They may, when, you're asking for them to pay for care, that some people just don't like that. They're uncomfortable even having to make a decision, or telling you no. Some people have a hard time saying no. Some people have a hard time saying yes. Jeez. Fear of failure, of course. That's probably the biggest one, right? Is this going to work? Is this going to work for me? That's why you got to have testimonials. That's why you got to have data, research papers, all that stuff, print it out and handy. Stuff on the wall, plaques of your accomplishments. All that stuff has to, all that needs to be there, right? To overcome some of these fears. So how to handle patient fears? Well, communication, right, is your secret weapon, right? Like your report of findings, it should be tailored to, I mean, you should have it down. Like, I mean, like Laurence Olivier on the stage, like you should have your report, because guys, we're dealing with the same types of patients. Like if you're doing neuropathy, you're going to be, I mean, even though they have a different cause, you're still dealing with a patient with neuropathy, with nerve damage, okay? So your delivery is gonna be the same. So what you don't want to do is be making it up every time. You want to have a, you don't necessarily have to have a script like written out, but it needs to be structured where you're gonna go through this and I'm gonna accomplish this here. In other words, you're going to explain their condition and why they're having it and why no one else has told them what's really going on. Then you're going to go into the research so that if they are a left brain type person, you essentially quash those questions and those fears, because if they see data behind what you do, that gives them assurance, anyways. So now this is outside the scope, because this is this is the first half of the ROF, right? Handling the objections is the back half of the ROF. But, all that stuff needs to be addressed, okay? Before you even get to the objections, because otherwise then, the biggest objection they're going to have, and they'll never tell you this, is that they just don't trust you, So all the ground, I mean, this is, like the fact that we're handling objections is assuming that the front half of the ROF has been done properly, right? And that your consultation was done properly and your examination has been done properly. Now, for most doctors, I mean, like most doctors at this level, there's no problem with the consultation and the examination, right? They've demonstrated the expertise, they develop rapport and trust in the consultation. But the report of findings is where a lot of doctors, especially the super smart ones, struggle. Right? Because they're like, gosh, I know I can fix them. Why don't they go move forward with care? Because you didn't communicate it well enough, So that front half of the ROF has to be down, okay? Because then once you get to the objections, then you're going to be able to address them, right? And you got to be willing to ask the hard questions, okay? What are some hard questions that you got to ask? Let's go through these. Let's do a quick time check. 1:43, good. Hard questions. Why haven't you done this already? Like, why have you waited 3 years to start doing research into some other solutions? That's a hard question, because that kind of puts them on the spot, Have you ever done something like this before? What's your real concern, Mr. Jones? If I resolve your concerns, are you going to move forward with care? Would you move forward with care? If I handle everything, are you in a position to make the decision? Okay, is he or she the decision maker? It's important. Other than yourself, who needs to be involved in this decision, both from a financial standpoint and a time standpoint? How can you justify investing this much money? This is takeaway selling. Because they're going to be like, what do you mean? How can I justify this? Well, look, it's, as you said, it's not a small amount of money. It's expensive. It's $6,000. I mean, how are you going to justify investing this in your health? Well, I'm worth it. I mean, I want to, I'm 65 years old. I'm going to live until I'm 80 probably. I mean, I don't want to, be in a wheelchair in 10 years. They are proving your point, right? Those are hard questions, hard questions get honest answers, okay? Hard questions get honest answers. And they'll respect you for asking the questions. You're the doctor, okay? And so we have to drill down and find out what is stopping them from moving forward, okay? Because if they drove to your office in their own vehicle and they have a job, or, and they're not on Medicaid, they have the money. They can find a way to finance it if it is important enough for them, okay? And you're like, well, Care Credit doesn't finance anybody. They don't, because their floor of the FICO floor is 650. But there's other solutions out there, guys. Patient Payment Solutions is one. It's like their FICO floor is 440, okay? So do some research and get some more options for your patients. If they want to move forward with care and you're not providing a solution for them from a financing perspective, that's your fault. right? They want to move forward with care. They got to figure out how it's going to work in their budget, you know? Or if you don't want to do that, then you use something like cash practice. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. Use cash practice where you're not the bank. You kind of are the bank, but you're not the bank because the debit is going to come from another source. But they'll follow up with the patient if the card gets declined or whatever. So it's not you, it's not your staff and making things uncomfortable when they come into the office, okay? That's important. But you got to have the systems in place if they want to move forward with care. And you're like, well, I just want prepays. BS, not everybody can prepay. Get the money wheel going, okay? If you get 10 people a month on $300 a month, that's $3,000 a month from 1 month, right? And then the next month it's 6,000, and then 9, and then 12. You know what I'm saying? So get that money wheel going. Don't be afraid of that. That's good. You're helping people, and then they're going to give you referrals, right? And they're going to buy other stuff off your shelves. So, so make sure that you have the solutions in place, okay? Now, rules of handling objections in the ROF. Never give any one objection too much power, okay? Never talk while the patient objects. Never, ever, ever interrupt a patient. Let them talk, okay? And never take an objection personally. They're not saying, doctor, you suck. Don't take it personally. Whether it's addressed to you or not, do not take it personally. You're the doctor, they're the patient. You're not friends, okay? You're not friends. This is not a friendship. This is a doctor-patient relationship. You are here to provide a service. They are here to get it, okay? So don't take anything personally, right? Leave it at the office. And never handle more than one objection at a time. Well, let's see how we can make this work for your budget and your schedule, and then we'll get your wife. No. One thing at a time, okay? A confused mind will always say no, okay? A confused mind will always say no. Never abandon the close because of an objection, okay? Never disagree with the patient. When you disagree with the patient, then remember that tennis court analogy? Now you're back on the other side of the fence, or the net, okay? Get on the same side of the net by agreeing with the patient. Never confuse the person with the objection, okay? Never believe the objection will keep the patient from moving forward. Don't believe it, okay? Always believe that it is a complaint until proven otherwise, and assume the patient's going to move forward with care. Okay? Your assumption that the patient's going to move forward with care is going to give the patient confidence that they're going to move forward with care. Okay? Confidence and commitment and courage oozes out of you. Okay? It just does, or it doesn't. It either does or it doesn't. Okay? And the only reason it wouldn't is because you don't have it. Okay? So assume the patient is going to move forward with care. Be surprised if they are not, okay? Never let an objection get you down. Don't get discouraged, okay? Don't ever get discouraged because either you lose a patient or they start complaining about something. Don't ever let that get you down, okay? Just think of yourself like like you have a Kevlar vest on. No big deal. Hey, we're going to solve this. You are a problem solver, okay? You're a doctor. They have a problem, you got a solution. You are a problem solver. It does not stop with the treatment. You need to take, again, because we're playing at a higher level and asking for a lump sum of money, or asking for a larger payment for a solution, we need to solve some more issues, okay? We got to help the patient get there. And ultimately, it's just where they're at in terms of confidence in you, your service, and your practice. So never ignore an objection, okay? Never ignore an objection. Don't pretend you didn't hear say he has to talk with his spouse or that it was too expensive. God, that's expensive. So how do you think? No, never, because when you ignore it, then they feel not heard, and that pisses people off, Never quit communicating, and never blame the patient or other conditions for the objection. Take full responsibility for everything. And when you do that, you're free. Okay, what do I mean by that? It means that you can always improve it. If you're going to let a situation, okay, well, the economy or the patient, it was the patient's fault, and I'm getting bad patients, or the economy sucks, or whatever it is. All those things are out of your control. When we're out of control, it's very discomforting to us, okay? Whereas if we take responsibility for everything, economy doesn't matter. This is people's health, or hey, what do you mean Medicare? Medicare are great patients. I mean, they've been saving their whole life. They probably got more money than me. Just start thinking this stuff, okay? Because you are now taking responsibility for everything, and then you can work on it and on improving it, as opposed to it being out of your control. Never let something be out of your control. Final thoughts. Look, objections are never a reason to stop the deal, but a reason to close the deal. One of my good friends is an agent in Hollywood. He reps some of the biggest writers and directors in town. When he hears no, he feels like that is when the conversation actually starts, when he's in a negotiation with the studios, okay? So when you hear no, i.e. a objection, that's when the real conversation starts, okay? So never let an objection stop you from moving forward. Master the objection, and then you have a chance to master the close. And again, we talked about there is a difference between mastering objections and closing a deal. And we will cover closing the deal in another training. Now, if this has been valuable to you, we have a training called Master Chiro Closer. It is just $497. It is, let's go, what is covered in it. So this is module 5, overcoming objections. So there's 6 modules total, okay? Module 1, we look at a 30,000 foot overview of the conversion process. We talk about the 3 10s and the 2 kinds of certainty, okay? You're like, what the hell is that? Well, it's all about, this is, again, this whole thing is all about how to become a master closer, okay, in the room. Module 2, the 5 keys to the Master Chiro Closer. What is looping? And then the first 4 seconds. Module 3, tonality and body language. Huge. Module 4, state management and how to get in a perfect state. You got to do this before going into your ROF. You cannot go into your ROF harried, okay? Or you're bumbling files, or you're not, anything other than being absolutely prepared and centered and ready for this particular patient is a mistake, okay? So you got to get in the right state management. Number 5, identifying and overcoming objections, okay? And then module 6, putting it all together, creating your game plan, moving forward, and then all of this, right? All this is the close. This is the close. So all of that is in what I call the Master Chiro Closer. It's a 6 video training series, obviously accessed online. You have lifetime access to it, and it's awesome, okay? So when we look at what, oh, and we got a couple bonuses here. So I have a group coaching called DC United. You get a 1 month free membership to that. The $1 million phone script, we've used this for years. It's responsible for millions and millions of dollars. It helps develop authority, trust, and rapport on the phone, so you can train up your staff, and she can have that with, he or she can have that with them. Then the video training vault. I've done so many videos, I forgot them all, or half of them, but tons of stuff. How to start and grow a neuropathy practice, 5 ways to double your decompression in neuropathy practice, how to create your first Facebook ad, conversion A to Z, $1 million script CA training, and more. There's tons. So, but the point being is I put this all into this program, okay? You get lifetime access for it, or to it. It's just $497. And the way I look at it is I always want to deliver 10x the cost of a program, okay? So we're looking at $497, big whoop. If you close, the average neuropathy, decompression, stem cell, functional medicine, the average patient care plan is about $5,000, okay? If you close one patient you just 10x your return. I always look at return on investment. What in anything I do, not just finances, time, relations. I mean, we want things to matter, right? And so if you go through this program, right, and you really commit to becoming a ninja in the room, right? Becoming really, really good at this stuff. You're already a really good doctor. I know that you are. You've already invested the time, effort, energy, and money in the service, in the equipment, all that stuff. I know you deliver great results because you would not be still doing it if you weren't. You're just not closing enough patients at this point, right? And I'll tell you what, when you have a frustrated patient walk out the door, like a patient that was qualified, had the condition, had the money, could have paid for it, and then still walked out, that is heartbreaking. One, they didn't get the care, right? So they're going to continue to suffer for the rest of their life because they're probably not going to find anybody else that can do it like you, right? So that's a huge loss. Two, you lost a new patient. You lost $5,000 in revenue that month. And their lifetime value and all the referrals and all the other stuff that they would have bought from you, okay? So that's a big loss. That's why I say this is a small amount of money to pay to get really good at this, go through these modules, become a master in the room, okay? So just go ahead, go to masterchirocloser.com and you can go ahead and sign up for there and you'll get instant access. So thank you so much for being on the training. It's 1:57. We are right on time. I'm Dr. Vince Leone. I hope this was super powerful for you. Thank you so much for your time and go change some lives. Take care.